Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of our ball watchers out there. This is Jake, joined by Justin from abroad. Justin, what country do we find ourselves in today?
I just got into London.
London. Okay.
Yeah.
What's the plan there?
Bouncing around. Mom's birthday is tomorrow, and I didn't even tell you this. I just bought tickets to the FA Cup final on Saturday.
Ooh, that's tasty. Tell everyone, for anyone that's not a big English soccer fan, who's in that final.
It's the Manchester Derby. So Manchester United versus Man City. It'll be a good game. I think Man City's heavily favored. I want to say like minus 255 to raise the cup, but it's at Wembley. Obviously, with the EPL being over, I couldn't come over here and not go to a game. So.
Absolutely. No, that'll be awesome, dude. Definitely get some pics and videos up for the listeners on the Instagram. I'm sure it's going to be electric. I mean, not like City Park, but definitely going to be electric.
Yeah, unlike City Park, it won't be nowhere near that. But yeah, I am sitting in the Man City section. So my buddy was already texting me. He's like, "Do not wear red, otherwise, if you want to be able to watch the full game." So.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Yeah, you got to stay safe out there. They got some hooligans for sure.
Oh, and I had to buy the cheapest ticket I could find because it still is a pretty penny. Don't look at how much it is.
Oh, I'm sure it is. It'll be worth it, though. It'll be worth it. And getting into it, Justin. So today we've got a preview for Houston Dynamo coming up on the weekend on Saturday at City Park. We'll miss you there, but the boys are back. And before we get into the preview and talk about the last couple things from Vancouver, I want to talk about our five-a-side, Justin. We have not done it in a couple weeks now, so we had to go back to it. And we actually committed to doing this one, I think, on the last episode or the one before. But for the five-a-side today, for everyone listening, we are going to be listing out our 5 PK takers from City. If we were ever to get into a situation like that, usually that would be a U.S. Open Cup situation, or maybe in the playoffs, God willing that we get there. So that is a situation for us. We're going to name our 5 PK takers. I guess, do you want to do it in order, Justin? Or how
yeah, just do the 5. And then
okay.
if you want to comment on any reason why, just quickly on who's where.
Got it. So for me, I am going to start off strong with Indy. I feel like he's got good footwork. He's got good shot placement. He's got a great leg. So I'm gonna start with him. And we can repeat on this one, Just. I mean, there's only so many guys in the field. I'm not gonna hand a PK to Bartlett. No offense.
And we didn't talk about this.
No, we didn't.
Neither. So I have no clue who you're going with.
So you're going to list out my 5, then you set your 5? Okay.
Do your 5.
So I've got Indy in the 1 spot. I've got Leuven in the 2 spot. In case, if Indy does mess up, you got to hand to a guy that's going to stick one in the back of a minute. That's Edu for me. Then I've got Joaquini. By the way, I'm assuming normal health right now. I'm assuming the current health right now. I'm not assuming we have Klaus and Alm, but you can. That's fine. So I'd have Leuven 2nd, Joaquini 3rd, Tim Parker 4th. I mean, for a center back, he's got excellent feet. If I was going to give one to a defender, it would be him. And then I have Jared Stroud on my final, just the menace, the guy that's just probably going to celebrate in your face once he scores it and ends the game. Obviously, he may not play with his suspension. Actually, he just won't play. But I did put him in here because it's just fun.
Okay, that's fine. So I had Joao in mind, but I'm pulling the guys up real quick. I want to make a slight switch. Yeah, I think I'll make my switch. I'll just switch him out.
Okay.
So I have Indy going first as well, just because I do like his footwork, whipping in balls anyways, and a lefty. I think throwing the keeper off, starting with the lefty is always interesting.
I like it.
I also went Leuven too. And that's one thing that we could have people debate about when we post this later is, where do you put your best PK taker? That's another aspect of this. Some people put him like 4th, and I think that's too late because you could be done by then. So big fan of Leuven at 2. I had Joao at 3. I'm going to replace him just for health's sake with Blum. I think Blum can put one away there. I also think he has great footwork, and he's one of those guys that's going to pass it just perfectly into the corner. I'm going Nico at 4, and then I believe, did you have Nico at 4? Or you had?
I had Nico at 3.
And then I'm actually going Celio at 5, just because I love his footwork and I like the way he can finish. So it's kind of similar though, like the last one, the 5th guy, is like, does it get there? And Stroud, you're probably right with Stroud in the fact that he'll have a little bit more, not composure, but he's been around it a little bit more than Celio has. But I like Celio in that spot. Yeah, I think he can step up to the plate.
I don't think Celio's a wrong bet. I don't think Blum's wrong, but I definitely thought more about Blum than Celio off the bat, just given his footwork as well. But Stroud for me was just we know he's got a great shot and we know he can score goals. So I just feel like he'd be one that can step into that. Like you said, he's been there before kind of, and would definitely not feel the nerves as much as maybe a Celio could because of the lack of professional experience.
The one that we already talked about, though, that neither of us put in here was Roman. So I almost thought about switching Roman. I know. So that's an interesting one. I didn't get a chance to look up if he's ever taken a PK or not.
I have no doubt that he could, absolutely, but did not put him in here. But I think a good 5-a-side. Let's definitely put that together, see what people think. Are we leaving guys out? Yeah. But we are assuming current health, which isn't looking great in terms of just improvements, which we'll get to into the show. But welcome to everyone joining. If you're in here on YouTube, shoot us a like, shoot us a subscribe. We're almost at 500 subscribers on YouTube, which is nuts, mind-blowing. So you could be the 500th. I think we need like 3 or 4 more. So thank you all for joining here. And if you're listening to us, definitely throw us a rating, a review on any podcast of choice. Whatever you're listening to goes a long way, and we appreciate it. So Justin, final thoughts on Vancouver. It seems like an age away now. I kind of put like some key kind of themes together that I took away from that game. And I'll start with number one that we can kind of get going here is I just feel like Edu, we talk about how great of a player he is and how professional and composed he is. And I think his composure, his mentality, we haven't talked about as much. And I got a great quote from Twitter from Justin Horniker, who reports in the team. And he said, I always try to target the far post. And if no one touches it, it still goes in. This is in reference to his free kick from last week. That is always my goal. And when the goalkeepers make one step, it goes over. So people are saying, he didn't mean to do it, which I believe. I don't think he meant to shoot that and put it in the upper corner. But for a guy to just come out and say that he's always aiming for the goal, he's putting this on net. So if people miss it or if the goalie misplays it like we saw on Saturday, it's gonna hurt. It's gonna go in. So I love to hear him say that. It was the longest measured direct free kick goal of 44.7 yards since the free kick goal in 2015. So that was from, I think, Zilla Ryan from the Columbus Crew, who had a almost 55-yard free kick goal in October of 2022. So it's not an enigma, but it is crazy, and we got to celebrate it.
Well, I would assume that guy either did the same thing or he caught the goalie sleeping, like trying to jog back, doing a quick hit. So, yeah, Chris, I saw that as well. Thank you for we have 501 now, Jake. So good job doing that quick plug at the beginning. And a quick shout out to Donnie as well. Thomas appreciates the hard work. But other thing I wanted to mention, now that you put it in here already as well, all aboard the Indy train. Indiana Vasilev.
Toot toot.
Just okay. I think you ruined it. I can't even take you seriously. I mean, that guy has just been Energizer Bunny in our midfield and has been absolutely killing it and putting in great work, whipping in balls, getting in dangerous, getting shots on net, scoring goals. So he's been phenomenal these past couple games.
He has. And talking about goals, man, goals are the currency. People say money talks. Goals talk in the MLS, and we have the most of them, I still believe. We scored 3 or more goals in 7 of our first 13 MLS matches, which is also mind-blowing. And we're the 4th team to have 7 or more 3-goal games in the first 13 matches of the season, which I realize I kind of just repeated myself, but that's how important that fact is. And we're the latest team to do that since Red Bull did it in 2018. Before that, it hadn't been done since 1998. So the league's come a long way since that time. And just to zone in on one goal specifically, Miggy's first goal is still such a happy thing to see him celebrate and run into to find his family like going the wrong way initially. I was just so happy for him. I've never seen the stadium louder. And I want to make a small side note with a big props to teammate Nico Gioacchini, who I read in an article post-game and this week that he attended Miggy's graduation on Thursday with the family and everything. And when Miggy got his diploma, Justin, he did the fingers together, which I read is like we're together. Like we've got some synergy. We got some connection. So I thought that was an awesome note.
That is awesome. And I wanted to call that out as well. I think it was on Joe Wow's Instagram when he said he's coming back soon. Nico posted this and he said, "Together soon, brother." So that makes a lot of sense. I like that we're kind of filling that out. And just stat correction. Yes, we do have the most goals in MLS. We have 29, tied with Atlanta. But Atlanta has given up 25. Do you know how many we've given up, Jake?
Definitely less than that. I know how much we average. I don't know how much we've net total.
14.
Like 14. Yeah, that's
right. And we play, and also they have a game in hand. So we were giving up 1 goal a game while they're giving up. They played 15 games, 25 games, and 25 goals against. I'm on vacation. I'm not doing that math. But way better than that.
Absolutely. So I'm not going to say Vancouver was a game we just stomped on them and just ran them into the ground, but it was a game where we made the most of our chances, which that's always going to win you games if you take what you're given or what you earn. I will say just a side note on that is that we're up to 2.14 points per match at home, which is absurd. But with that, we also have a negative X goal differential, meaning that we're just way overperforming the expectations in terms of the stats when you think about XG and XG against, which is not a negative thing. I mean, if we're going to get that, that's great. And we're getting bounces and we're getting luck in our corner. That's great. Let's keep that going. But you definitely want to see that difference come down, or at least, more towards zero as best we can. Because we want to also play and generate chances like we belong there, and less about just always converting even the slightest of chances. So I'm not complaining at all, but I definitely want to see there's still some room for improvement, I guess is the note there.
There's positive and negatives to both of the XG stuff of, you're outperforming it or you're underperforming it. It's like, if you're outperforming it, you're scoring more goals, but if you're underperforming, you're creating a ton of chances. So there's both sides of it. I'm not too worried. Last thing I'll say, Jake, I don't think we need to touch on too many more of the stats of the Whitecaps thing. But one thing I just want to keep harping on, they had 62% possession. They had twice as many completed passes us as well. And it shows, and it doesn't matter. It shows us that we can play that style and we can still come out with it victorious. And I think that we kind of need to focus on that it's not just, that's just like one thing. It's if we can dictate the game in that sense, we're going to be looking good over these next, over the rest of the games. And one thing I saw on Twitter, I meant to pull it up and send it. I don't know if I sent it to you. We have the third easiest schedule, is it, for the rest of the season and the rest of the MLS?
Yeah, I saw that, and I saw that doing the rounds too, and I think that's great. And I don't think you can totally neglect it. But my one note on that, Justin, is I feel like most of our games have been home games to this point. So while those teams have higher or lower points per match they're averaging right now, I bet it's higher when they're points per match at home, like we have. Yes. So when we're going away, we have less points per match right now. So I could see that kind of being like a little bit of a catch-22.
Yeah, you got to read it with a grain of salt, but here it is. Yeah. So we're sixth. The current points per game of the plays that are the guys that we've played against so far is 1.92, but we the remaining opposition's point per game is 1.3. Yeah, the rest of the season. So I mean, it'll drop off a little bit, but I agree. I think it's definitely something that we're gonna have to keep mindful, especially when we go on our away games. But we have another home game coming up.
We do. And we got some respect put in our name this week. We got Leuven into the team of the match day, plus goal of the match day. St. Louis showed out for him. He got 63% of the vote, just left every other competitor in the dust. And there were some good goals this week. So hats off to Leuven. Then the team as well. The team moved up in the power rankings, both in MLS and ESPN, respectively, from 8 to 7 in MLS and from 7 to 5 in ESPN. So we have cracked the top 5. According to ESPN, I don't really trust all their MLS insights, but you know what? We'll take what we can get. And Justin, before we get into the preview here, we have some other news from a soccer front, especially U.S. men's national team.
Yeah, hired our second interim coach. I'm going to mess his name up, Jake. I did some research on the guy, but it is so Anthony Hudson's out. Okay. So Anthony Hudson's out, who I'm hearing that he's actually taking a head coaching job in the Middle East, and he'll be replaced by BJ Callahan. BJ will coach the U.S. men's national team through the CONCACAF Nations League and the CONCACAF Gold Cup this summer. He served as an assistant coach for the U.S. men's national team for the past 4 years and is currently the longest serving member of the U.S. men's national team technical staff. And that shows with how they're cleaning the house with all this Greg stuff. So, yeah, I mean, let's do it. Let's see what he's got.
Yeah, Greggy was at the game too. I actually rubbed elbows with Greg when he was walking to his seat, supporting his son. Obviously, didn't say anything, but we know he's been through a blender the last couple of months. I'm ready for some change. I'm not in a rush either. You know what? Give that guy BJ some time with the team to do these next 2 tournaments and get us a good freaking coach to take us to 2026. I'm really excited about that. We got some cool friendlies coming up too against Germany and Ghana in October that were just announced. So a lot to look forward to on the horizon for the boys in the red, white, and blue. But how about the boys in HOU Houston? They are coming to town to City Park. Houston's an interesting club with a interesting history. They were established technically in December 15th, 2005, and they were founded, but they were relocated. So they were the San Jose Earthquakes initially. And then the owner took the team to Houston following the 2005 season. So when I'm saying established 2005, it's a little bit complicated. Like they actually took all the players in 2005 from San Jose and all the coaches under contract, moved them to Houston, but they reserved the name and the team rights for future use, which now you obviously know there's a San Jose Earthquakes team with different ownership. And then they absolutely exploded onto the scene in Houston. They basically won the MLS Cup twice in those first 2 seasons in Houston in 2006 and 2007. And they won the Open Cup, and that was in 2018, so quite a bit later. Other than that, a little bit of a rough patch they're in right now. They have not been to the playoffs since 2017. They've only qualified twice since 2013. So a team that's looking to the future to be a lot brighter than it's been most recently.
And they've had a lot of turnover, but before all of that, and we're about to touch on it, these St. Louis connections that we put in here, these guys all happened before they started getting into their slump. So
right.
Will Bruin, to smack grad, drafted the 11th overall in 2011 by the Dynamo, scored 50 goals in 178 matches before he moved on to Seattle and then Austin FC. Another one that I like to call out, AJ Cochran, CBC grad, Generation Adidas player, drafted by the Dynamo, 16th overall in 2014. And then the most notable one, Jake, Brad Davis, Chaminade grad, St. Louis, all these guys, St. Louis. Davis was drafted 3rd overall in the 2002 Super Draft by the Metro Stars, went to a number of teams, which it was kind of nuts if you look into it. Basically, like the next 3 or 4 years, he was being traded for like the top 5 picks.
Yeah.
And he was bouncing around a lot. But then he landed with the Dynamo for 10 seasons where he had 44 goals and 113 assists in 298 matches. He had the MLS MVP runner-up in 2011. He's a 6-time All-Star. 5 of those were during the Dynamo time. And he has the most assists and MLS appearances for the Dynamo.
Definitely one of the best, I'd say, MLSers of all time. And a U.S. men's national team player at that, right, too. He went to the 2014 World Cup and got in with the team. So awesome stuff from Brad. Otherwise, let's zoom in a little bit recently for Houston. Last year, like I said, not great for them. 10 wins, 18 losses, 6 draws. They missed the playoffs by quite a bit. They only had 43 goals for and 56 against, so quite a negative goal differential there as well. And let's talk about home and away. They only had 4 wins away from home. And that's not awful. We've heard some worse ones on some recent previews, but they had 11 losses. So they weren't really drawing much away from home either. So a pretty abysmal 2022 for the squad in Houston. But 2023 has been a little bit better for them. You know, it's incremental. I definitely think they're looking to the future. They've got 18 points grabbed so far, 5-5-3 record, win-loss draw, 7th in the Western Conference, just sitting above Vancouver now, who we sent home packing. And they're actually going to Vancouver tonight as we record this to play a midweek fixture, which we got out of because LAFC is in the CONCACAF Champions League final. So they're going to play a game right now tonight, and they'll be on short rest.
Yeah, which is huge for us. I think when you mentioned that we don't have to play LAFC tonight just because our health problems as well. Give these guys another full week to keep recuperating. Let's see if we can get Joao back and all of that. And we'll touch on the news on injuries coming up. But as you mentioned, so with those games, they have not had a single win away. They have 4 losses and 2 draws. Only 13 goals for and 12 goals against and 13 total games played. I don't know what's going on with these teams and why they can't score. And we've played, what did I say earlier? That we've played
a tougher
14
schedule.
Games and have 29 goals. I don't care if it's a tougher schedule or not. They can't even score a goal a game. That's just not soccer, especially not MLS soccer. But some of the recent games, they lost to FC Cincinnati 2-1. Houston outpossessed them there. They had some big chances, but they conceded early first and second half. Otherwise, a pretty even game. Lost to the Revs 3-0. We all know that the Revs are a pretty solid team. But Houston couldn't create in the second half with a 0.1 XG. And then they've had 2 games against Austin, a 2-0 win, and then their most recent, a 2-1 win. And I'll kind of let you touch on the Dallas game. And
Dallas was a tough. I think the thing that I'm seeing in some of this trending is that they outpossess in most games, which we are salivating over. That's great. Love to hear it. You guys can have the ball because they don't create that well. They have a lot of the ball, but they're not doing a lot in terms of chance creation. They get on the board, I think, a lot more with headers, and especially on corner kicks. Like I saw, so not really headers as much as they got on the board with a header on a corner kick from Dallas. But corner kicks looked like a vulnerability point from them that I saw. I thought Dallas can let them off the hook. Dallas was a little wasteful with their chances, and they play Vancouver tonight. And if you just look at just kind of the odds. Obviously, Houston's going away to Vancouver. We know it hasn't gone well for them. They have 0 wins and 8 losses and 2 ties versus Vancouver in the matches they've played so far in their history. And betting-wise, you just look at the odds. Houston is plus 400 money line here. So Vegas is telling you that Vancouver's probably going to spank them, which we didn't just spank Vancouver, but we beat them. So, you do the math. This is definitely a game that we should win overall, I would say.
Absolutely. And those stats that you said, those were strictly for games in Vancouver that Houston has played. It's not their overall record against them, but it's still, and you can just see by those odds that this is not going to go very well for these fellas. And I think Vegas is taking into effect or thinking about the fact that we just spanked them and Vancouver's going to want to go home and just absolutely roll over another team.
Right.
So I think that's going to probably be something we could see tonight. I need to look at, I guess I can stream that tonight over here.
Yeah, it's actually free on Apple TV. This one's free, and it's also, since it's in Canada, it's on whatever Canada's streaming now. I think TSN or whatever their streaming network is, like their ESPN.
Dude, I was trying to watch like the Succession finale.
Oh, was it blocked?
Yeah, HBO's blocked over here. So I downloaded it, thank God, and I watched it on my phone, but I couldn't even get it pulled up on my computer.
I could talk about that finale for a whole nother episode here. We might have to, but let's get into the players, Justin. Let's get into the players that we're going to be seeing don, I guess, maybe the orange or the black when they come to City Park on Saturday. And you look no further than one of the most recent acquisitions is Amin Bassi. He is a central attacking midfielder, also plays wing for them. He's 25-year-old Moroccan. He's kind of had some experiences in tier 2 and 3 in France, and even some championship level experience in England prior to Houston purchasing him for about 1.5 mil in January of this year. So this is his first season being owned by Houston. He's got 5 goals. I will say a couple of them are PKs, so you take with that what you will. So he is averaging almost 0.6 goals per 90, but XG of almost 0.5 per 90. So he's about on par. He's their creator. He creates their big chances, but like you said, when they're starved of chance creation and they're not doing the best in that realm, like his big chances created for them are 2. This year. I think one of our guys, probably Leuven or Vasilev, have 4, 5, 6 to their name already this season. So it's going slower, but he's a bright spot in the team. And then Hector Herrera. We know Hector Herrera, Justin. I mean, oof. I
was about to say he's going to be the guy. He'll be the star that everybody. If you're going to know somebody on this team, it's going to be Hector Herrera. He's 33-year-old Mexican, free transfer from Atletico Madrid in 2022. He has 300 reps ish, or a little above or below, give or take some, on the first tier of Mexico, Portugal, Spain, and the U.S., plus 100 appearances for the Mexico men's national team. So this guy's been around. 3 goals, 3 assists this year, tied for the most assists, highest rated player on Houston, and most accurate passer of 61.4. Is that passes per game that he
percent. Okay. Yeah, he takes some chances too. He's not just like a defensive midfielder. He is a box-to-box guy for them. He's both a creator and a defender. So he's definitely probably their MVP so far this season for them, and I expect that from a guy of his caliber. Another one I pulled out of here, Justin, is Adalberto Carrasquilla, who is, I would say, another type of creator, kind of like we talked about Bassi. He's 24-year-old Panamanian. He's got almost 40 appearances for their national team, and he joined from La Liga 2 in Spain for 1.8 mil in July of 2022. So he was a summer acquisition for them last season to help turn things around. Obviously couldn't do too much, but only 1 goal and 1 assist so far this season. Most chances created, not big chances, most chances. And he is a guy that can put his head down and dribble through guys with the ball. So he is their most successful dribbles per 90. He can carry and be dangerous and get into the box.
Did you look up? Did you know the word Panamanian before this?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure.
Oh yeah, dude. Oh, don't you worry. Don't you worry. Well, let's talk about head coach before we get into trends and storylines. Justin, is Ben Olsen We got an American in here coaching in Houston. He was hired November of last year after they fired their coach. There's been a lot of those recently for them. So he's in his first season technically. And before that, though, he coached DC for 10 years. He must have had some plot armor, man, going for them. That's like Pete Vermees levels
That's what I was going to say. Sporting KC.
That's crazy. Yeah. Oh yeah. We go back to the S words. We don't do that around here.
Yeah.
But he's been relatively successful in the MLS. He also was a really successful player. He played 221 games for DC and logged 37 for the U.S. men's national team. Back to his coaching. Another guy likes a 4-3-3, likes an attacking 4-3-3. He leans very heavily on the stars that we just mentioned. Houston's not a team like us. When I say that, they're not a designated team. There's not many teams that are like that are so balanced throughout. They kind of rely on their star players to come through for them. And we already mentioned the three that I would think about when I think about their stars. So he kind of provides them the platform with and without the ball to kind of drive where the team needs to go and how to facilitate things. So that central midfield will definitely direct attacks and get stuck in on defense as well. They do also kind of link up with short passes and get their fullbacks involved to swing in crosses from them as well. But still, attack is not a strength of theirs when you look at their full season so far.
No, because they literally are scoring 1 goal a game. But as we kind of touch on that and get into the team here quickly, I know we're already 25 minutes in, but this season, did you come up with this, the new car smell thing?
I saw that somewhere. I thought it was good. Yeah,
all right. It was good. So we have this season's relative success screams new car smell, and that's basically what we're touching on there. Is that they have new ownership and new staff at the Dynamo, so it's usually one of those things like, oh, we want to play well for these guys. It's kind of new energy, new blood getting into the system, but so they've kind of done that to start, but not overly well, as they're literally 500 with 5-5-3 to start the season. Short rest, as we already talked about, that they're playing tonight, which I look, Jake, I think is it is 3:40 a.m. my time, so I will not be watching that.
Yep.
They have 1 win in their last 5 games. They are dangerous on set balls and set pieces and through balls from Bassi, and we already touched on him. Hector Herrera too. Not scared to take some chances from him, so something to be on the lookout for the offense. But so they are also, we see this on a lot of these, that they're vulnerable on some set pieces. And yes, we score the one from Leuven, but I would love to see us get like a nice curler from 22, 25 yards out.
It's coming. I definitely have a feeling that it's coming for us. For them, I hope it does not come on Saturday. When you think about their XG, they've got 1.17 per 90, which puts them almost last in the MLS right now. They're averaging about a goal a game, which is also tied for 6th worst. So offense just doesn't look great for them. They're a little bit worse away with XG. And they're dead last when you remove penalties from it. So there's a stat. So there's XG and there's NP-XG, so non-penalty XG. So when you take the 4 PKs they've gotten out of it, they're dead last in XG. So this is a team that scored 13 goals. 4 of them have been PKs, and they're still 3rd least in the MLS. And you look at like when those goals are going to come, it's almost kind of usually at the death. They have 46% of their goals coming from the 71st to 90th minute. So that worries me a little bit, considering we've been a little bit leaky at the end of games. But this is a team that isn't going to be overly threatening. So it's a team for me that I feel like we need to get on the board quick and play to their weaknesses.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It's going to be one of those things that Carnell's going to be looking at. And I think I said it last time. I do think that Blum is getting closer and closer to man of the match for our team. And I think this could be one for them, especially if you make some stops later on. But talking about their defense before we get into City, their XGA of 1.46 per 90. It's about average in the MLS, but 0.92 goals against per game is top 5 in the MLS. However, their XGA when they're playing away games is 1.6. That's about a little bit about the middle tier of the MLS as well. And goals against come pretty much whenever against this team, and you have in here mostly in the second half, but I mean, which is kind of good for us because I think we can kind of score at any time as well.
I agree. Right now, they're averaging about 54 minutes between every away goal they're conceding. They've conceded 10 goals against away, and they only average 0.33 points per match in away fixtures. They've got a lot of shots on target against. They've got 52, but that actually puts them at 5th least in the MLS. So they're a leaky defense, but they're doing well with what they've been given. Like you said, they only average just under a goal against per game, and they're not giving up too many shots. Their goalie has been pretty incredible so far this season too, with the third highest save percentage, not above Berkey though. And they're not a team that gets too much of a press at all. And they have the least amount of tackles in the MLS and the second most shots blocked. So we kind of know that they're kind of sitting back a little bit, and they may not press you, but they will get in front of shots and make sure they block those and deflect those away.
That is an interesting stat. Just real quick, Jake, before we get into the cities, I'm just looking at that. Save percentage. Nashville is number 1, 83.3, and we know a boy there. And then we're number 2 at 79.1, and then Houston's right behind us at 77, which is not, I don't know if I like that we're that high. I think it does put a lot on Berkey, but I mean, it's good that we have him as a staple. So kind of as we want to get into city specifically, though, coming off another great win, we're going to have another full week's rest. And then so you have availability here. Abs, now an eye infection.
Yeah.
And then Nielsen knee, Klaus quad, Strauss suspended. We knew those, but what's up with
Yeah, apparently he's back physically from his ab issue, but he's got an eye infection, and that's contagious. Maybe he has pink eye. So he's training. He's training away from the team because it's contagious right now. So he could be available for selection on Saturday. It sounds like I'm not putting my eggs in that basket. But we definitely have some notable absences coming on this weekend. Klaus sounds like it's a mix of he's just not ready yet. He's doing fitness and getting there, but he's not doing contact yet. And he's a little bit mental, I think, kind of hesitant to get involved there. He's not feeling internally like he's ready. So they're being a little cautious with him. Otherwise, for us, we know the story. So, City as a club, we have XG of 1.53 per 90, which is 10th MLS. So we're getting better there, but we're still far outperforming our XG with averaging 2.23 goals for per game, which is number 1. And it's not even close. No one comes close to that.
And which is great to see. And we even have higher points per game, 2.14, and goal differential of plus 13 at home. We have higher home XG of 90 minutes of 1.61, which is still 12th in the MLS. We've talked about that, though. We do more than what our XG actually shows, which is completely fine with me. We're scoring a goal pretty much every 33 minutes at home, which is pretty much 3 a game, which we've seen plenty of times. 24% of those come in the 41st to 50th minute, and another 21% in the 71st to 80th, which I think just really shows that we're balanced. And especially the 71st, 80th with the way that Carnell makes subs. I feel like a lot of our first subs come in like the 60th to 65th. So it's a little spark plug and a change there, which I like to see.
I agree. And first halves for us have been really successful at home. We've never been losing at half. Knock on whatever you have available to you there. Over 7 games played at home, 11 goals for in first halves. So I'm loving a good little first half bet. When we get some lines, I might have to revise my Grahammer coming up here. We also average the 3rd most shots on target per game with almost 5. And that's kind of surprising. But I saw that today and I was happily surprised, to say the least. So defensively, still a place I think we want to get a little more solidified in. XG against, we're 1.55 per 90, which is 7th to last, but we're allowing far less than that. We're allowing 1.08 goals against per 90, which is number 10. So we're drastically overperforming both offensively and defensively right now, which is a little bit worrisome. But you know what? We live and die.
Dude, that stat for XGA versus actual goals against is just Roman.
Yeah,
that's what it is. Like, our defense is doing as best they can, but if they're having that high of an XGA with that low of goals against, that's all Rome.
Yeah, so it's the Roman effect.
One thing I'm going to go into real quick, I know we have a couple other stats, but we're starting to run along. Saturday, it's 94 in St. Louis. Jesus,
yes,
what? But I do want to mention, as I'll make some plugs real quick, Jake, if you want to pull up starting 11. That's 94 degrees outside. That is a perfect time for what Blaze has been waiting for. Taking that frozen Irish coffee across the street and just drink it and walk around the stadium. You can't take it into the stadium. Don't try to do that. But get a couple of those before, and if you want to take them outside as well. I'll also plug Series 6, 15% off using the code BALLWATCHING. And otherwise, just like Jake already mentioned, just like, subscribe. We appreciate everybody's doing. And we're going to have a little release later on. Jake, maybe you want to touch on that at the end, or if you want to do it now.
I will. I'll touch on a little bit at the end here. But when we're talking starting 11, Justin, a lot of it depends on the alm of it all. If he's healthy, I would be one to throw him back in because he's good with his ab. Like, his abdominal problem is gone. I would put him back in immediately. But my lineup would look like Berkey, I would still keep the same defensive line that started last game with Hebert, Parker, Bartlett, and Nerwinski. And then the same midfield three of Leuven, Vasilev, and Blum. And then I would go back to Celio on the left, and then Nico up top. And then the right wing is where I think we have availability right now, with Stroud being out. He went to Stroud twice in a row last game for the first time ever in terms of lineups, keeping the same. So I think right now, if Alm isn't going to start, let's just say the eye infection festers or they're not trusting him yet, I would put Ostrak in there to start at the right wing. He's played that position before this season, and I think this could be a huge opportunity for him. So that'd be my starting 11.
The only thing I'd really change, besides we don't really know what's going on the right, or if Alm can come back, but I still think Johnny, dude, we'll see. I mean, yes, the guy's been playing well in the back four that we have, but we just can't forget how good Johnny was. And yeah, he had the red card, and it's a tough decision to make there, but I still think you put him back in the left at one of these points. He is not a guy that just comes off the bench for this team.
Yep. No, I'm with you. I'm with you for sure. So that's the starting 11, and let's get into predictions, Justin. So kind of round this out. It's prediction time, and with it, I'll give it to you to start. What do you think is going to happen here?
So actually, as we more talked about it, I kind of wanted to switch it to us possibly doing another clean sheet, but that's never fun because then if the team does get a goal, then your prediction's kind of by the wayside. I'm going with the 2-1 dub. I think we take care, we score on them early. I think we could possibly even go up 2-0, not by halftime, probably goal in the 30th, goal in the 60th, and then we give one up again, as we typically do in like the 75th or 80th, and we just have to sweat it out. But that's what I got.
I hope not, man. I hope not. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game in this one because, we've seen that Houston can be a little more stingy on defense, and I think they might bring a little bit more of a setup like that against us, who's been firing on all cylinders attacking-wise. So I could see this being a 1-0 win for us. That is what I have. I'm hoping that goal gets on the board early. I think that it could flip the script on its head if that does happen, because then they immediately are exposed and they have to go do the thing that they struggle the most to do. So that'd be my prediction for the game. We don't have great lines out yet, Justin, from what I've seen. But if I had to put a bet right now with what we do know, City money line is kind of where I put my money right now, and that's -125. So they're definitely favored to win this game, as they should be. And I think there'll be a lot more money to be made once these lines get broken out and all these midweek games get done with, because I think we could definitely take advantage of a team that's a little bit tired coming from a midday fixture, a midweek fixture.
No, I would agree with that. So I know that we have seen that Houston can be a little bit more stingy, but they also can't score as much. But I think that changes. Everything changes when you come to City Park. Just the amount of energy there. So right now, my hammer is the over 2.5 at -108. Like I said, there's not a lot of lines out right now, especially with them playing tonight. That'll flip once they get done with that game. But looking at it, our team total over 1.5 is -113. So I think, Vegas knows we're going to get another 2 goals in this. And Houston to score at least 1 is -205. So looking at those two and combining it to get to maybe if Houston scores on us, gets us the over 2.5, or if we can do all 3 ourselves. So that's my take.
Love it.
And one of the reasons I went into one of those props was City draw no bet is -270, or City double chance if we tie or win and you still get paid out. That's -440, and I'm not looking for this game.
Way too juicy. So everyone's looking at us. Sounds like this should be a win, and that's where it gets dangerous because everyone's counting Houston out. It kind of feels like, but I hope the guys don't take it lightly. I'm sure they won't, and they'll come ready to play on Saturday. But before we wrap this up, Justin, quick special announcement for everyone. You kind of alluded to it a little bit here, but we have a fantastic special guest interview recorded and ready to go, and it will be dropping within the next week from today. It is with Gerard Kraft, the Chief Flavor Officer of St. Louis City SC and the owner, executive chef of Niche Food Group. I'm telling you, you guys have probably eaten a lot of these restaurants, but Pastaria, Brasserie come to mind the most. Bowood, one of the newer ones, and a couple places in City Foundry as well with Fordo's. So he's an amazing guy. I'm so excited to release this for you all. Caveat, the sound didn't go great. So I am doing the best with the sound, the best I can. It'll be a straight to YouTube release because of that. So we have a full video. We spent just over an hour with him. He's an incredible guy. You guys will love getting to know him. He's got awesome perspective and just someone in St. Louis that loves the city and loves the club. And I'm excited for you all to meet him.
I mean, the amount of hype that's been at the stadium for the food that's there, not only the atmosphere, but everybody's been loving the food. And that's coming directly from this guy, the flavor officer. So it seemed like a great interview. I unfortunately was out of town for it while I'm over here, but Yeah, so we got to figure out the sound stuff, Jake. Every time we get a big man lead, something goes wrong with us, but we'll figure that out.
Yeah, we'll be figuring it out.
You still did a great job.
Yes, so you all will get that to enjoy as well. So look forward to that. Probably the next couple of days here, maybe early part of next week following this game is kind of what I'm thinking right now. But until then, we'll catch you all on Sunday following what's hopefully a majestic night on Saturday and continue this winning streak. But until then, all for City, man.
All for City, all for Man City, I guess.